Hello everyone, and welcome to After Alexander. Episode 106, Antiochus IV, the Helpless. The campfire which we huddle round at the end of Seleucid reigns hasn't even had time to die down yet before we start it up again, but here we are once again. 5 years and just 2 episodes after we said goodbye to Seleucus IV, it is time to do the same for his son. One thing I can say for certain, this isn't going to be our longest episode. Not by quite some margin. The future Antiochus IV was born as the second son and third child of Seleucus IV and his sister wife, Laodicea IV. He was born in about 180 BCE, when his father had already been king for about 7 years. He had an older brother Demetrius and an older sister known as Laodicea V. However, his older brother would be sent to Rome. This was as part of the fallout of the Treaty of Apamea that ended the war of his grandfather Antiochus III against the Roman Republic. Antiochus's uncle Mithridates had previously been a Roman hostage following the terms of this same treaty. However, when Grandpa Antiochus had died and his father had become the king, the Romans had argued a hostage exchange needed to happen so that a son of the king was still the hostage. You can understand the argument being made here. Historically, brothers have quite often fought brothers in civil wars and other generalized forms of strife. Examples include the English King John working against his brother Richard the Lionheart, the Emperor Caracalla murdering his brother Geta, or even, in a more mild form, Louis XVIII's petty rivalries when it came to Louis XVI of France. All of that to say, having a brother who was a Roman hostage might not guarantee good behaviour as effectively as having a son as a hostage might. So, Antiochus's older brother was shipped off to Rome, and Uncle Mithridates was released. Sometime after this, Seleucus IV was murdered. With his father gone and his older brother in Rome, Antiochus IV was declared king in succession to his father at only 5 years old. The man who declared him king was Heliodorus, a minister to Seleucus IV, who was now lining himself to grab all the power and act as the puppet master to Antiochus IV's puppet. However, it wouldn't turn out quite like that. Mithridates, our king's uncle, was in Athens when news of this succession reached him. With the support of the army of Pergamon, he declared himself a co-king and invaded. After a struggle we don't get much detail on, he defeated Heliodorus and installed himself as a co-ruler. 5 years later, in let's say 170 BCE, Antiochus IV was killed by a man called Andronicus when he was just 10 years of age. The fact that Andronicus was killed by his uncle who actually ordered his murder was, I am sure, an enormous comfort to Antiochus IV. Incidentally, I'm sure the fact that his uncle had a son in 172 BCE had nothing to do with his death whatsoever. Regardless, that's Antiochus IV's life recapped. That didn't even take a whole page of my notes. So, what nickname did I come up with and why? Well, as the title suggested, it's Antiochus the Helpless. There have been many rulers who started off as children or as young men or women. Alexander the Great was only 20 when his father died, while Antiochus III himself had been only 18, so it's common enough for rulers to be young. However, Antiochus IV was just 5 when he became king. This, coupled with there being an adult heir who had the backing of a foreign power, put our Antiochus IV at a real disadvantage. And really, when you add Heliodorus into the mix, he didn't stand much of a chance at all. He was just swept along by history. He was, in other words, helpless. It's not the most original or standout epithet I've ever come up with, but to be fair, Antiochus IV himself didn't exactly give me much material to work with. So, farewell, young Antiochus the Helpless. I didn't expect to only have one episode with you, but such is life. Next time, we will turn to the uncle who ordered his assassination in the first place. This uncle is the man now known to us as Antiochus V. Until then, thank you all for listening. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to get in touch at the show's email address. Until next time, have a great week, everyone.